Welcome to Magic Beyond the Books. Today we're talking about the scene where Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour get married. I'm Calen.
And I'm Rene. Warning, there are Harry Potter spoilers in this episode, especially since this is coming from the last book, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers. This is, and yes, for the record, this is from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is book 7. The chapter number is chapter 8. It's pretty much all of chapter 8 and like a little bit of the beginning of chapter 9. Or if you're watching the movies, this is from Deathly Hallows Part 1, so the 7th movie. Do you want to sum it up for us?
Yeah, so essentially the chapter covers the beginning, like the preparations of the wedding a little bit. They're kind of showing everybody to their seats. They get married. Bill and Fleur get married at the Burrow. Many characters make appearances. This is like a reunion of sorts for the Weasley family and just sort of the Harry Potter storyline. And then Harry, while disguised, is informed of Dumbledore's past and some of the rumors that surround the Dumbledore family.
Before we get into it, we're going to do our listener question of the week. This week's listener question is, can you share your ideas for alternative book titles for each of the Harry Potter books? All right, should we start? You want me to start? We're going book 1 to book 7, right?
Yeah, we're going to do chronologically. I will say for the listeners, I do think that there are some books that are solid. Like, I don't think there's any other name. Maybe there are other names that are good, that are, that they fit well with the book. But there are some that I think that they picked the best name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
she picked the best name. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think the weakest book title is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, me too. Yeah, that was pretty good. I was like, that's just like some random object that really, it has some plot point, but it really doesn't have much of a plot point up past getting him into the tournament. That's the only plot point it serves.
Yeah, it's only in the middle or towards the beginning of the book, has that little scene, and then that's it. It doesn't make an appearance again, or it's not. And I guess that that's how he gets into the tournament, kind of. But I feel like it's not a key point that comes back again. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess we'll start with this one. So I think number 4, I think Goblet of Fire, and maybe we aren't going chronologically anyways. That's why you guys love this podcast. We're not doing this chronologically. So Goblet of Fire, I think that an alternative title would be the Harry Potter and the Triwizard Cup.
Okay, yeah. I said Harry Potter and the Triwizard Tournament, but I think the cup is good because the cup is the whole Portkey situation. That's the key pivotal point of the story.
Yeah, and I think that, and this is sort of what the point I was going to make earlier, is that even though it does sort of give away a key storyline of the book before the person even reads it, I don't think that would make anybody less willing to really, really read the book. If you see Goblet of Fire, you don't know what Goblet of Fire is. You don't necessarily want to or are less likely to read the book because it has Goblet of Fire. I think that Triwizard Cup, it's a little bit more enticing, I feel like. And then you also have that added element of this is the thing that sort of flips everything upside down and is the major pivotal point in the storyline.
Yeah. And I think you find out about the Triwizard Tournament pretty early on, and you might just be oh, it's the quest for the Triwizard Cup, basically. And then you realize oh, this was actually even bigger part of the story. I don't think it reveals too much.
No, it doesn't. I think that the other ones similar things like Chamber of Secrets, nobody knows what the Chamber of Secrets is beforehand. They kind of learn about it in the middle of the book. Same thing with the Sorcerer's Stone, same things, or Philosopher's Stone. And yeah, so I don't think that was a major, detractor from that, choosing that name.
So did you have anything for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone / Philosopher's Stone?
I really didn't. I maybe had thought something about Return of Evil or something like that, but that seemed a little too cheesy. That really wasn't as I didn't really like that as much. So I think that Sorcerer's Stone is an okay title because it is a very, that's the pivotal thing in the book.
Yeah. My only suggestion for that one would be Harry Potter and the Mirror of Erised. Maybe.
I thought about that one too. That would be a good one. That'd be a good one. If I was going to rank those two, I would put Sorcerer's Stone ahead of Mirror of Erised, just because like the Sorcerer's Stone is the thing that that it's the center plot point of the entire book, and the Mirror of Erised is sort of just a device that they use at the end to sort of get the stone into Harry's hand.
Yeah, this is like, that was like me. If I could come up with anything, that's like the only thing I could come up with that for that book. Okay, what about the second book? Did you have anything for that one?
Yeah, so I went with either Heir of Slytherin or Secrets of Slytherin.
Okay, yeah, I like Heir of Slytherin or Secrets of Slytherin. I did the Secret Diary. I don't think that's like a good one because I think that's too like, I don't know. It sounds too like girly pop book kind of thing. But I was like, the diary is like a key point, so I was trying to like get that in, or like the Diary of Slytherin. I don't know, but you don't want to like say that.
Yeah, I do think that like if you say, "Oh, this is a secret diary," I feel like that might be a little bit too leading on of like what the plot would be.
Yeah, now I'm starting through doing this exercise. I'm starting to understand how difficult it must have been to write these titles.
Yeah, definitely.
The Prisoner of Azkaban was the third one. That one, I wanted to do something with the Dementors, but I couldn't come up with anything. So I said Harry Potter and the Patronus Spell.
I saw a couple ones that were about Dementors or kind of feelings around Dementors, or like you said, the Patronus. I didn't necessarily like that as much. I mean, Dementors are definitely a big piece of the story. But I guess I sort of stayed with the Prisoner of Azkaban, like that character, obviously Sirius and his journey, right? I went with these three titles. I had three: Harry Potter and the Enemies of the Past, Harry Potter and the Great Betrayal, and then Harry Potter and the Marauder's Secret.
Oh, I like all of those. Those are all really good. Those are good ones.
The first one, Enemies of the Past, that was original. I didn't find that on Reddit. The other two I found those on Reddit. So like the Marauder Secret, I really, really liked that one. And that's why I pulled it from Reddit. Great Betrayal, I didn't like as much, but I think that still fit the feeling. But I do like Marauder's Secret. I think that is a good one because you have no idea what the Marauders are. And then also on top of that, you have the Secret Keeper sort of thing. You have just secrets about the Marauders map,
the secret that they made the map, the secret that they were Animagi, the secret that they had the Secret Keeper, the secret that the Secret Keeper was switched.
Yep. Yeah,
lots of secrets. The fact that he was a werewolf. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Especially, I feel like you would like, as you're reading that book, you'd be like, when the map comes into play, I feel like you would be like, oh, this is the secret, the Marauder Secret. It's that they made a map. And then later you're like, oh, there's like so much more to the title.
There's more secrets.
Yeah, there's more secrets. Like,
ooh, juicy.
I like stuff that like doesn't give it away, or like you think as you're going along, you think that you figured it out. And then later, like you find out, oh, I didn't even realize all the layers of this.
So that was we did 1, 2, 3, 4. So we did 4 at the beginning. We did the rest in chronological order. For 5, I did Harry Potter and the Unspoken Prophecy.
Oh yeah, I did Harry Potter and the Hall of Prophecy. So we were all like thinking on the same page there.
Okay, and then I did another one, Harry Potter and the Prophecy of the Past.
But yeah, that's all I think I had for that. Let's see. So that's the regular titles, Order of the Phoenix, and then book 6, which is the Half-Blood Prince. I don't know. Okay, so I did Harry Potter and the Quest for Horcruxes because I feel like this is really when like it starts, because he kind of goes on all those missions with Dumbledore, and that's kind of like what it's all leading to. But I feel like that might be misleading because then like that title could kind of work for the last book too.
I liked Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows. I think those are the two very solid names.
Yeah, those are some of the best ones, I think. Like the Half-Blood Prince, and the whole time they're like trying to figure out who the Half-Blood Prince is and everything. So that's a hard one. And when I think of the sixth book, I think of like the little like teeny bopper romance. I feel like that whole book is just like all the teenagers like getting together, Harry being obsessed with Draco, and then like on the side, Dumbledore and Harry doing their Horcrux missions.
Yeah. I actually did think of one. I just now remembered it. Harry Potter and the Unbreakable Vow.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's like a main theme.
I think I like Half-Blood Prince because that is a very central theme, and then it's a big reveal. At the end.
Yeah, that was a big that I remember that ending being so shocked, and I was just like, "That's it! Like Snape's a bad guy. Like he's turned. Like he's been bad this whole time." And I remember, like my dad was the only person that didn't believe it. Like he was like, I don't know. I think there's more to the story. He's like he was still holding out. He's the only person I knew that like kind of I don't know if he fully foresaw what Snape's story was going to be, but he at the end of that book, even after he killed Dumbledore, he was like, there's something there.
Yeah, there's something about that tower that just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
He was a Severus Snape truther.
Yeah,
He just loves Alan Rickman. Maybe he's like,
yeah.
I can't see it. I can't do it.
I think my dad does like Alan. I mean, who doesn't like Alan Rickman?
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. Yeah. The last book, my only alternate title that I could come up with was The Battle of Hogwarts. But yeah. I don't know if I would really want that too, because you don't want to. It's so hard because you don't want to reveal things, but you want it to be a pivotal part of the book, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that you could make it. This is a bit more of a basic title, like the quest. I think the quest for Horcruxes, like you said, could fit a little bit more here, even though it doesn't seem there's no reveal with the name. I think that that the Deathly Hallows, nobody knows what it is yet, right? And then they sort of figure it out as the story goes on. But if you wanted to just name it something a little bit more generic, it would be like Quest for Horcruxes. That's a good one.
Or like The Last Horcrux or something like that. And then
Yeah, that'd be a good one, actually. Yeah, that would be a good one. 6 and 7, those are the strongest titles.
Yeah,
I think
6 and 7 are the best.
We came up with some good ones.
Yeah, 6 and 7. For the record, I think all the titles were good, even though Goblet of Fire was like the weakest. So these are just my alternate. If like I was like, okay, you're forced, like you can't have the original titles, kind of thing.
I'll go on record. I don't think that Goblet of Fire was one of the better ones that she picked. So I'm not going to say that all of them were good. So yeah, those are my thoughts. You can't hit all your shots.
Yeah. If you hit 6 of 7, it's still good. Good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the episode.
Okay, yeah. So let's get back into the scene. First thing I'm going to talk about, and this is sort of just jumping the gun. Is this the worst way that your wedding could ever end?
To find out that your government has been overthrown and like murderers are coming after you. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there. I don't think there's many other things that could top it. I do think that we find out later there weren't that many casualties, right? They try and keep everybody alive so that they can interrogate them. So it's not like a lot of people died at this thing that happened, but it's definitely not how you want your reception to end.
Yeah. As far as like literature though, like I felt like this was such great writing. Like you're in the middle of this wedding, everything's all happy, we're kind of like, I mean, the Dumbledore stuff's not so happy, but you're in the middle of this wedding, everything's happy. It feels like you're kind of separate from the story. And then all of a sudden, this Lynx Patronus appears out of nowhere, and it's Kingsley Shacklebolt, who has like the best voice on record in Harry Potter. And this is the direct quote: "The Ministry has fallen. Scrimgeour is dead. They are coming." Like, so good.
Yeah, that's very foreboding. And I agree, he has a very good voice. I remember that from the movies, is that I was like, wow, this is scary. That voice is scary. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good way to end a scene, a very happy scene, is to bring everybody back to reality and say, look, everything is not going to be rainbows and leprechauns. It's back to reality. It's back to this is serious stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah, and that's how the chapter ends. Like, I can just imagine, like, your parents are reading this to you at night, and then it's like, oh, gotta go to bed. Next chapter tomorrow, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? So
Yeah, I do feel like if you're a good parent, you'll be like, look, no, like they just end up in this alleyway, and then so we'll get back to it a little bit later.
Yeah, maybe get into the next chapter a little bit.
Yeah, so I thought that this was pretty funny because they didn't really disguise Harry in the movie, which I think it was a big miss from the movie, because that seems like a pretty significant thing that you would want to do if you are thinking about this logically in the characters' brains. They don't disguise him, and I think that even though they disguise him in the books, it's definitely not the smartest thing to host this event in this context of all these events that are happening.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the books give more context of like what's going on, and saying there's a bunch of protection around it, and only like certain people are invited, and it's and like no one is supposed to know that Harry's there, so he's in disguise. Like, there's so much more around, like, yeah, we're in like wartime, versus in the movies, yeah, he's just like no disguise, and there's a bunch of people there, and it seems very like unsafe.
Yeah, it seems very casual. Like, there's a lot of people around that you would hope that their alliances are pretty strong with these people that are being invited to this wedding. Like, they're probably family, they're probably close friends, but you never know. I mean, Harry's parents were betrayed by their quote unquote best friend, right? So I think that this is a little bit misguided to do something of this magnitude. Not necessarily something that's special, because people can have weddings when there's things that are going on around in the world, but maybe don't make it as big of an affair.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because Lupin and Tonks like just got married, and they did like a very small ceremony with just family. There's nothing stopping you from still getting married, but it doesn't have to be a whole spectacle. I mean, I'm happy we got the spectacle for the sake of the books, but like, yeah, it doesn't make the most sense.
Yeah. And I do think that even though stuff starts to pop off at the end of the scene where Death Eaters start to show up and the Ministry falls and all this sort of stuff happens, I think that was going to happen anyway. So I don't think that the Death Eaters planned this attack because of this wedding. I think that it just so happened that the attack lined up with when they were going to do the overthrow of the Ministry, because they had gotten that guy to put somebody under they had put that guy under the Imperious charm. I can't remember his name, but he was like the head of security or whatever, right?
Yeah, Pious Thickness, I think.
Yeah, that's a great name for a guy that you're going to put under the Imperious charm, by the way.
Yeah, they were going to come. Well, the Weasleys are known to be, have been aligned with Dumbledore and stuff like that. They were one of the many targeted houses. Like, I don't think this gets explained in the movies, but like in the books, I think they have a quick explanation. Like later, that like multiple of the Order of the Phoenix houses get targeted after, the Ministry gets taken over. So yeah, so it's not like, I guess the wedding didn't really do anything to make it more of a target than they already were.
Yeah, but it definitely didn't help.
But it didn't help to have like Harry Potter and a bunch of other people there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they were like just killing everyone. Like, I feel like the movies made it out like they're like, dodging Avada Kedavra curses, and that's not exactly what was happening in the books.
Yeah, they made it seem like in the movie that like, oh man, we need to get out of here, they're going to kill everybody. In the books, they made it a little bit more. It was definitely chaos in the books as well, but they like you said, they weren't just killing everybody because they wanted to interrogate them and be like, hey, where is Potter? Where is Ron? Where is Hermione? Have you seen them? Where'd they go? Stuff like that. What do
Yeah.
they have planned? What did Dumbledore tell them? What did they have in the will or whatever? So
I do like, I know we're going like talking about the end first, right? But maybe we're going like out of chronological order. But I do think that, and maybe we get into this more with like Scrimgeour's episode, but I mean, I think Scrimgeour had some real faults, and you get more of that in the books. But he was a real one. I mean, he died protecting Harry's whereabouts. You know?
was that made clear in the book?
Yeah, they say later Lupin fills them in, and basically from their like information, like, I think when they were taking over the ministry, they were asking Scrimgeour like where Harry was, and he never like gave it away.
Okay.
Which he
Yeah.
knew because he saw him like, days before, a day before for the will situation. So he didn't like just say, oh yeah, like they didn't know that Harry was at the Weasley's house. The Death Eaters didn't know that. Even though Scrimgeour did, and Scrimgeour was murdered. So, I mean, you can kind of like put two and two together, right? Like he didn't tell them that information, which I think is big.
Yeah, and I think that he definitely did it for a good reason. Like he made it clear that he wasn't Harry's biggest fan about how he went about things, but he definitely made it clear that they're still on the same team. Like he was just it's sort of just like two teammates like being mad about how they get something done. Really, that's really most of their like qualms with each other. And Harry, rightfully so, didn't really trust him because Fudge was very corrupt and didn't necessarily help Scrimgeour out the best with his relationship with the Ministry. So I definitely think that Scrimgeour was a little bit disappointed that Harry wasn't as forthcoming with being as much part of an alliance that he would want. But I think that he understood that they were still on the same team, and like you said, he wasn't just going to give them up. I also do think that Scrimgeour, he is a really tough guy. Like in the books, they make it clear that he's like injured. He has like a bum leg or whatever, and he's like just a guy with a lot of battle scars. And I think that really fits his character. That if somebody like wants him to do something, he's just gonna be, no, I'm not doing that thing. I'm not going to give you exactly what you want. I'm never going to do that. You have to kill me before I do that. So I think that definitely fits his character. Even though he did it for a good reason, I think that even if he wasn't as aligned with Harry, he would have done the same thing where he was just like, whatever, I'm not going to give this up. You got to kill me.
He's kind of, I mean, he was the head of the Auror office. He's kind of maybe cut from the same cloth as like a Mad-Eye Moody type situation. Like, he's trained to not give up and divulge information. But, just for a comparison, like, I think Fudge would have been like, here's where Harry is. I'll point him out on a map. Like, if he had been the minister, I think he would have given him away.
Yeah, I think that Fudge would have done some negotiating with the Death Eaters, saying, if you let me keep my post as Minister of Magic, just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get back into the actual wedding scene.
So it was the summer of 1997.
Summer of 1997. That was a good summer.
Yeah. Do you remember that summer fondly?
I do, very fondly. I do. It was hot. I remember that.
Yeah, so to further set the scene, so I wrote down all the things from the book of how this wedding is described. So we're at the Burrow, which is the Weasley's house. It's outside. They have some sort of like tent set up. Like they described, the support poles are decorated with white and gold flowers. And later that tent kind of like opens up. So it's like an open canopy. And they have this like golden dance floor for the reception after like the same space transitions from the ceremony to the reception. And they had a lot of gold, like golden chairs, golden dance floor, a golden balloon bunch uses like the arch, or what do you call it? Like altar where the bride and groom stand.
Yeah, I think it's an altar thing.
Okay.
Pedestal. I think a pedestal is something you stand on, so maybe not a pedestal, but yeah, the altar.
Okay. So yeah, so I guess they have these balloons as their like altar spot, and those balloons also play music and also had birds and bells fly out of them after the bride and groom get married. And oh, and the golden jacketed wedding band. So a lot of gold. The waiters were wearing white, and then there's a purple carpet, and then they have like other details like butterflies and bees hovering over the grass, champagne bottles floating around unsupported, cake topped with two model phoenixes that take flight when the cake is cut. And then they said that when the bride and groom kiss, there was like a shower of stars circling them. So basically a lot of like white and gold if you're trying to get a picture of this wedding. And I think some purple details. I feel like I rewatched the movie, it's like purple, 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 everything purple.
They went a little overboard with the purple.
Yeah. It was a lot of purple in the wedding, and that's not how it's described in the books.
Yeah,
But
everything seems very grand.
yeah, it seems very like cool too. Like I like all the details that are the wizard things, right? Like the balloons that like have music coming from them, and then they also like pop and like even the guest attire. Apparently, the guests wear a lot of bright colors, and the witches put flowers and birds in their hats, and the wizards have precious gems that they put on their ties. So
That's pretty cool.
it's a very like elaborate affair.
Do you think the magical spectacle that Muggles would get from these affairs? Do you think that it wears off a little bit for wizards, and they just treat it as just like normal, basic life, and it just becomes kind of not spectacle anymore?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like for weddings, you would still have like the same culture that we have where you're like going all out for that affair, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know, like Phoenix is taking flight off of a cake when it's getting cut. Like is that extra special for wizards, or are they like, "Oh, I was just at like my cousin's house and she did that for like just Sunday
Dinner.
tea."
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so. I feel like that would take some extraordinary magic. I would hope. I hope that they don't necessarily are able to do that super easily, because I like to think that that's a very special thing to happen. Um, but I did also write this down that for a wizard, if they ever went to a Muggle event, it has to be the most boring thing that they've ever been a part of.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just like thinking about them going to maybe even a wedding that has too long of a ceremony where it's just talking, and it's no balloons that play music or they burst into stars or all that or phoenixes fly from
Yeah.
the whatever. Like there's none of that. It's really like the most you get is like sometimes you throw like rice or bubbles or whatever, and that's the most magical thing that could ever happen at a Muggle wedding. So I wrote down that like a normal wedding has to be the worst affair to go to as a wizard. And some Muggles don't like the long ceremonies either, and they're just waiting to go get drunk.
Yeah, I'm one of those muggles.
Huh.
I think our ceremony for my wedding was like maybe, I mean, you officiated my wedding. Should we tell our listeners that? It was probably
Yeah,
like
that's
10
okay.
minutes or something.
Yeah, it was pretty short. Yeah, I think the most of the time was spent walking in and walking out.
Yeah, yeah.
So just to illustrate the amount of talking that was done, not that
Yeah, it's
much. Yeah,
very little
we were
talking.
trying to get to the party.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Arthur Weasley would love a muggle wedding.
Yeah, but he's a Muggle nerd, and I think that he's a pretty special case. I think that the wizards would probably get a little bit weirded out by there's no wands, and their voices are loud, so they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, is that, how do they do that, and then they
Like the
have to talk.
technology, yeah.
Yeah, they have to talk about like, oh no, that's a microphone, that's a little thing that makes your voice a little bit louder, that goes through this thing and then it comes out of a speaker or whatever. And they're like, oh, that's really complex, why don't you just use your wand and make your voice super booming or whatever.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah, I remember at our wedding, our DJ did a little like light projection thing on the ground that like had our initials. I feel like maybe a wizard would be like, how did you figure out how to do that? Like there'd be weird things. But also they might be amazed more at like the cultural differences of weddings, or like I'm thinking like, when you go to like a Jewish wedding and then they get the bride and groom get like up on the chairs, right? They might be like, oh my gosh, you like hold them, like you're not using magic, you're like holding them, like supporting their weight on the chairs,
Yeah, to
right?
like levitate them. Yeah,
Yeah.
like why are you doing that? That seems so hard.
Yeah, they're like, this is so much more work.
Yeah. Was there a bunch of like music or anything that happened at the wizard wedding at this wedding?
They didn't talk about the music too much. They did say that music came out of the balloons, and they said that there was a golden jacketed wedding band there. So I think maybe you have like I'm just picturing like, someone with a violin, someone with a cello, like maybe someone with a guitar, like a 3-string band or something, maybe like for like some
Hmm.
music. But I feel like they don't really like talk about that much.
Yeah, no, they didn't, I don't think. And you know what? I am just now realizing that wedding band is not the wedding, like your ring. I was thinking that that was like, oh, he
Oh.
had a gold ring. And I was like, oh, now I'm realizing that it was a band, like a live band, and they had golden jackets on. And I was
Yes, yeah.
like, okay, that makes a lot more sense than why did they reference what jacket the ring had on, you know? So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I'm
a funny
pretty sure
thing.
I interpreted that right, because I think they were talking about them like standing under a tree or something. But now you're making me question
No,
myself.
I think you're completely right. I think that was just
Okay.
me being not with it when I was reading through that.
Well, they did describe some of their like attire. Her full name is Fleur Isabel Delacour, in case anyone wants to know. And she has like a tiara and they say she wears a very simple white dress and has a silvery glow about her, which is so different than the way they have her in the movie. In the movie, she has no
Oh
tiara,
wow.
I don't think, or maybe she does. Maybe it's small. I can't really tell. And she has this.
From that picture it sort of looks like she has like a horn coming out
Oh,
at the top.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so the wedding's very purple, and her dress is extremely elaborate. It's got like two what seems to be like peacocks, kind of like black peacocks, like across her dress, and then she has a big fluffy train. I actually like this dress for the movies because it's very like iconic and memorable, but it doesn't fit Fleur, I feel like.
No, I feel like it would be a much more elaborate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would think so.
I feel like it's like Fleur is very pretty, right? She's part Vila. She gets a lot of attention on her own, and they describe her dress as being very simple. And I feel like that she wouldn't need to like do it up a lot. Does that make
Yeah, I guess I
sense?
could see your point where you your entire life you could do nothing and people would be very interested in you. So maybe that plays into it. But maybe I'm thinking that she, maybe I'm reading into it a little bit more than what she would actually do. Where I think that it would be more glamorous and very done up. But maybe you'd probably be right where it's just the natural allure of being a Vila kind of
Yeah.
brings enough attention.
I don't know. I did look up wedding trends of the 1990s. Do you want to
Okay.
hear about that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I was looking up wedding trends as well.
I found an article from Inside Weddings that talked about a couple of trends. And I just think it's interesting to compare this because this is like in 1997. And I feel like they kind of went with some of the trends. The big trend was bridal gowns were simple, sleek, silk, sheath dresses. So very like simple. So this goes along with what the book describes. She wore a very simple dress. That was very like of the time, right? Like this is
Hmm.
post 80s was like big dresses, big like fluffy shoulders, like a bunch of lace, everything. So like that makes sense. Like the 90s, it was like a big departure from that.
Okay. Yeah. That's too gaudy for us. We need to go back to basics.
Yeah, like you swing the other way. The article said that Carolyn Bessette and John F. Kennedy, the celebrity couple of the time, that maybe like inspired that a little bit. Like this was the
Oh
style, like
yeah.
very simple dress, maybe silk, nothing crazy, small flower like bouquet. Just a very like simple modern look.
Yeah, that to me is giving like the bridesmaid dresses.
Yeah, it does. It looks like what might be like a bridesmaid dress nowadays, but in white.
Mhm.
And makeup and hairstyles. This was the start of makeup and hair being matchy with the bridesmaids and the bride. And now I feel
Okay.
like they've kind of like, I feel like it was all matchy for a while. And now it's kind of like bridesmaids don't necessarily, it's like cohesive, but not all matching. And then, so in the 90s, veils with a headband, that was like the big trend.
Huh.
Yeah, which kind of, I guess, kind of goes with like Fleur because she's wearing a tiara, right? So it's kind of like headband, but I don't know if they talk about her wearing a veil at all.
No. I do think so. That's another thing. I think in the 90s, like headbands in like the NBA were also pretty prominent. Yeah. Like they just figured out headband technology, I guess.
They're like, oh
like
my gosh,
they had just gotten elastic.
My hair back?
Yeah. Sweatbands or whatever. They have the the big like thick like white sweatband to do whatever with that, like obviously hold your sweat back. But maybe they just figured out elastic or whatever, and everybody was like, oh, headbands.
Yeah, everything was headbands apparently. And the ring, the popular like diamond ring cut was square, which is called princess cut. Like that was the rage. So those were some of the trends that I found. What trends did you find?
So I didn't find trends, but I did look up like wedding traditions, typical wedding traditions. So do you know where the white wedding dress originated? Or was popularized, I should say.
I don't know. You're like saying geographical location?
The white wedding dress was not always typical of brides to wear white.
Okay. What color did they wear before?
It was various.
Like whatever
it wasn't
color.
necessarily just one color. But apparently it was popularized because Queen Victoria in the 1800s, her wedding was, I don't know if it was televised. I can't remember I don't know when TV was invented, but Queen Victoria's wedding was very publicized. So when she wore white, it sort of caught on, and then from then it created the trend of the white wedding dress. So that's sort of where it originated.
That's interesting.
If you could pick a different color for your wedding dress, what would it be? What would it have been?
For the record, I did wear white, but I do love a non-white wedding dress. I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of like emerald green. Maybe that's a random color, but
fine.
or black. I could see myself doing black if I had done a wedding, especially if I had done a wedding like around Halloween or something like that. It would be cool to do like an all black kind of thing.
I've seen an all black wedding dress, not in a wedding that I've gone to, but like my wife watches TV shows, and there was one where they had a wedding, and the bride wore black wedding dress. So the next one I found was tie the knot.
Okay,
and that is originated in a Celtic ritual of hand fastening, and it represents an unbreakable promise to bind the couple together, and they would actually tie the hands together. And I don't know how long they were like that. Maybe for the rest of the night. I think that would be pretty funny, honestly. Yeah. If you were actually tied in a knot to each other for the rest of the night, that'd be pretty funny. So another one is cross the threshold.
I don't know if I know what that means. Oh, that's when you like carry your wife like over the threshold of the house.
Yeah. And apparently it was like a test of strength for the groom. Like if you can't do this, then you're not worthy of marriage. And you did it because like the women were supposed to be frail and not able to cross a threshold or whatever. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
This is sort of in that ilk, father giving away the bride.
Okay.
Do you know why that was a thing?
Wasn't there like dowries and stuff like that?
What's a dowry?
Isn't that like what you like basically pay for the
Yeah, so in old times,
come after me. Yeah,
it's okay. We were just talking about things that
this is historical.
Yeah,
thing.
This is history. Yeah, we're not. This doesn't still happen. No, but in the olden days, marriage was sometimes a way for fathers to resolve debts.
Yeah.
So he was essentially passing over this piece of property that he was exchanging for relieving his credit card debt or whatever.
Yeah, this is an exchange of goods. This
Yeah.
is how my dad got out of all his debt, marrying me off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then first kiss.
Oh, like at the ceremony?
Yeah, at the ceremony when they've been declared man and wife. That came from ancient Rome, and that was just a good what's the word? Like a good omen that they were proving their love to their family and friends. And I thought of this funny thing where it's like that's like the first time they ever kiss is like at the thing, so they're truly proving their love.
Yeah, I would not want that to happen. Oh, I do like how in Fleur and Bill's wedding, the officiant declares them bonded for life, and then they kiss. I thought that's like a good phrase, right?
That's a good like outro for the wedding.
Yeah, like instead of
I settle it.
Yeah, like normally I feel like it's like I now declare you man and wife or something like that, and so but he's like I now declare you bonded for life. I thought it was cute.
Yeah, or like I don't really like the thing where it's like Mr. and Mrs. groom's first name and last name, where it's like you just leave the bride's name out of it.
Yeah.
You are now John Smith. This is your name now. You're now Mrs. John Smith.
Yeah.
You do not have a name anymore. The next one is the bouquet.
Oh, throwing the bouquet? Where'd that come
which
from?
also comes from ancient Rome and Greece. And apparently it was in vogue to carry around aromatic bouquets of onions, garlic, dill, and other herbs to repel evil spirits. So Professor Quirrell would be a fan of this tradition.
Was it throwing it to people to catch, or they were just like throwing it?
No, I don't know about the throwing the bouquet, but just a bouquet in general, just carrying around a bouquet of flowers originated there to sort of be a guard against evil spirits. I don't know where I actually didn't look up, or it wasn't in that article of throwing the bouquet to see who's going to get married next. I don't know where that originated.
That is interesting. That your bouquet was supposed to be like smelly to ward away spirits, and now it's like flowers, and if anything, it maybe smells nice.
Yeah. So the last one is in the UK. They have bachelor and bachelorette parties, but they're called something different.
Ooh, they're called hen parties.
Yeah, so the bachelorette party is called a hen party, a hen do party, and the bachelor party is called a stag party, a stag do party.
Okay. I've definitely heard. I feel like even in the States, sometimes I've heard people call it stag parties or stag. Like I'm going stag. I'm having my stag party. I have never heard in the States people having hen parties, but I have international family and they called it a hen party when they did their stuff. Yeah.
So that's all my traditions.
Yeah, that's cool. It's so interesting, like all the wedding trends and traditions and how it's like changed over time, but some things have endured since ancient Rome.
It's just funny how people decide to profess their love for each other. Like there's so many different cultures and so many different ways that this thing that most cultures do, that most cultures have a way of doing this, but it's just so cool how there's like so many different ways that they go about it. Like in Indian culture, like they have like a full week of events that they do for marriages. But yeah, so back to Bill and Fleur's wedding. So we were talking about just sort of the decor and the arrangements and stuff like that were going on. Fleur was wearing a tiara that was a goblin made tiara that was Aunt Muriel's, right? And I have a feeling that Aunt Muriel is the type of person who you don't necessarily want to be around, but you can't take your eyes off of. You want to hear her. You want to be around her like a fly on the wall. Not necessarily, you don't want to be her point of attention, but you want to be around for the person whose attention she has.
Yes. Aunt Muriel, I put her as my like hero of the scene because she's just like the comedic relief basically. And she also brings up a lot of key points about Dumbledore that we kind of like needed to hear. But yeah, this whole scene, maybe we should point to the fact that she says that Ginny's dress is too low cut loudly in the middle of the ceremony.
Yeah, that's just Auntie Muriel for you, you know. And I think that she's such a good character because I feel like everybody who's reading this book, or at least people who have a little bit of life experience, obviously you're like 12, you're not going to know somebody like this. But if you're an adult, you know somebody like this. You know somebody, an old lady who just doesn't care about, has no filter anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know people like this. I've known people like this. It's like it's the wild card in the family that's just gonna like, unfiltered. It usually is an older lady, I feel. Like usually it's like someone's like great aunt or like grandma or something. And they just do not care and they just say whatever comes to their mind. And they just divulge family secrets. They're just like all of this. So she's just like, she is loving the Dumbledore family talk. Cause she's like, oh, let's just talk about rumors and secrets. And yeah, let's spill the tea.
Yeah. And I think that those people are very entertaining for people who are not part of the immediate family, because they'll just say anything and you get to laugh at it. But there's people like in the immediate family who are like, stop saying this, shut up. Like, no, don't, like, can you keep your mouth shut? And then maybe it's like people are laughing and the immediate family is like, don't encourage her, like she's a toddler or whatever that's doing things to like get people's attention. But it's funny because like you don't have to do any encouraging or discouraging because they're going to do it whatever. Like anyways, they don't care about any sort of encouragement or discouragement. They've lived on this earth for so long. They're like, whatever, I'm over it. I'm just gonna say whatever I want.
Yeah. I wish we got a little bit more Auntie Muriel. Yeah. I feel like she gets mentioned. I
need more Auntie Muriel content.
I need give me the Auntie Muriel spinoff, like her life story. Yeah, I feel like she gets mentioned a lot throughout the books, like as like little side comments here and there. But like, I think this is the only scene where we actually like see her and like interact with her.
Yeah. This is really the only time we get to be around Auntie Muriel, and I think that's a good point that there are bits and pieces of Muriel throughout the books. There's also bits and pieces just about the Weasley family tree that they'll throw in, like Fred and George. They're talking about Uncle Beezus or what? There's
Barnabas or something.
Barnabas or somebody in there in this chapter. But I feel like the Weasleys could, like, if HBO wanted to do something, do like a funny spinoff, I feel like the Weasley family could be a sitcom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my favorite quote from the scene is Aunt Muriel is being walked to her chair by Ron, and she asks Ron if Harry Potter's there. And Ron says, no, he's not there. He couldn't make it. And Auntie Muriel responds with, made an excuse, did he? Not as gormless as he looks in the press photographs then. I've just been instructing the bride on how to best wear my tiara. And it's just so funny because it's like she moves so quickly between insults, and it's too fast for people to even like understand what's happening. And before you even think about it, like she's insulted like 5 people.
Yes. Before he can even like defend himself and be like, no,
he's not gormless.
Yeah, then it's just like automatically like onto something else. And she told Hermione she had skinny ankles. Like she's just like going through her clip.
Yeah.
I love her every interaction with her basically. Like at one point she just tells a random family member to give up their chair so she can sit down.
And if I'm that family member, I'm doing it. I'm not messing with Auntie Muriel.
Yeah, I feel like everyone just like lets her have her way, basically.
Yeah. How old is she? She's got to, I think they mentioned she's like 100 something, 107 or something like that.
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be, I mean, she's a Pruitt, right? She's like Molly Weasley, which is Ron's mom. She's the aunt of Molly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's not a Weasley. Like, I think that's why she's like, oh, you Weasleys, like, you're great. Like, there's such a big family.
Yeah, they breed like gnomes. That's what she said?
Like, because that's not technically her like, she's from the other side of the family.
Yeah. So yeah, she's one of the people the one of the more prominent people in attendance. You also get Tonks and Lupin, who have just gotten married, right? Tonks is prominently blonde in this, which I think that that's a good sign, right? She's very happy. I think that blonde is a good color, right? That's sort of what I would anticipate.
Yeah, I think so. And I think she's supposed to be pregnant at this time, or maybe early stages, right? But yeah, she's definitely glowing. He's like feeling like he's dragging her down the wrong path. So
Yeah,
they got some more
yeah.
drama. But
Hagrid's there, kind of just making a mess of everything, sitting on chairs he's not supposed to sit on. That's pretty funny. That's classic Hagrid, classic big guy sitting on things, collapsing chairs.
yeah, I don't even know. Like, would Hagrid have been there when Bill was in school?
As a teacher, you're saying?
Or I guess as he was like the game or the keeper of the keys, he would have been around then. I guess
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how is he getting an invite? Or he's getting an invite because he's in the Order of the Phoenix.
I think so. I think he's just Hagrid. He's just a nice guy to have
Just-
around. He's just a good guy to have around. He's a glue guy.
yeah.
And I feel like he could move stuff. If they need to move stuff, that he can move stuff. So
Yeah, and he's
yeah.
always drinking. He's always a good time. Yeah.
He's a good time. Luna and Xenophilius, they are there. And this is sort of where we first learn about the Deathly Hallows. And we don't know that they're the Deathly Hallows yet. Or is that what Xenophilius, does Xenophilius say they're the Deathly Hallows right off the bat?
Not yet. No. We just see the symbol and know that it's used for Grindelwald's like mark, but no like real context there. But yeah, this is our first time meeting Xenophilius.
Yeah.
And they're neighbors with the Weasleys, so it makes sense that they're there.
Yeah, and that's another thing I didn't know when I was watching the movie. When I'm watching the movie and they visit Xenophilius at their house, you don't really realize that they're literally right next to the Weasley's house. And as you're realizing that when you're reading the books, it's like, oh wow, they're sort of like taking a little bit of a risk here. Like they would definitely be in in the sphere of like investigation, with being right next to the Weasley's house. So
yeah, you're taking a risk too, like if you're like attracting Death Eaters to a place that's close to the Weasley house, like you don't want to get Death Eaters anywhere near their house.
Yeah, like definitely like whenever a police are like setting a perimeter for like investigate or finding somebody, like they're definitely within that perimeter.
But yeah, the most notable thing about Luna and Xenophilius is that they're wearing apparently quote unquote eye-wateringly bright yellow robes, which they call sun colors.
They're definitely on the spot with that. Like if you look at the sun, your eyes immediately start watering. So if they are that bright, then they're doing their job. But that's probably not the best thing to wear to an event where there's a ton of people around you. But yeah, that sort of fits their part though. I wanted to say that Luna gets a bad rap about her personality or just not being as, she's very quirky, right? She's not as, people don't like anticipate her quirkiness as friendliness. They're sort of just weirded out by her. But I think that in this scene, she really shows how exceptionally intelligent she is emotionally, because she's able to catch on to who Harry is almost immediately. And I think that this really shows that, like, even though she isn't the most social person or has the best social skills, she is very emotionally intelligent and is taking in a lot of information, even though she's not being willingly given that information by like speaking to people, but she's taking in a lot of information from people's expressions and their facial movements and stuff like that, and she can tell people apart by that.
Yeah, like she can tell Harry's Harry even though he's completely disguised as someone else through Polyjuice Potion, just from like his mannerisms and things that he does. So yeah, I think people maybe get it twisted. Like she's not spacey and out of it. Like she knows what's going on. She's just eccentric.
Yeah, and she's probably like thinking about things like a lot. She's not just like she's not out there as in she's not paying attention or she's just brain dead. She's taking in information and she's thinking about all the information, and maybe that's why she's not as attentive to a conversation.
Yeah. And I think she's more willing to see the world in different ways and kind of like more willing to accept crazy stories or crazy things. And I think that kind of gives her a lens to like see through things. Because if you're going at the world and looking at people just as they are in their appearance and just accepting them as they are, and like you're stuck in that box, you're not going to see through Polyjuice Potion. But if she's like, does that make sense? Like Luna is willing to see the world and see that people can be multiple things. Like,
yeah.
She kind of has like a weird way of looking at the world, and that helps her actually see things clearer than other people that are like stuck in their boxes.
Yeah, she is never thinking inside the box. She's always thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
And if we want to talk about, I think that, and this just popped in my head, if people who, I know you're talking about the shipping people, like the Draco and Hermione thing makes absolutely no sense to me. I think that Luna and Harry make a lot more sense and could be like very close second to Harry and Ginny. And even some people probably maybe think that Harry and Ginny maybe third to Harry, Hermione, and Harry, Luna, and Harry, Ginny. Like out of those three pairings, like I think that some people would say that Harry and Ginny would be the third out of those pairings.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big Harry and Ginny shipper, and maybe we do like a debate or something because I can like bring the receipts. But I would say I would prefer Harry and Luna after that over Harry and Hermione. Like I can see Harry and Luna more than I can see Harry and Hermione. Like I don't think Harry and Hermione have anything. Luna and Harry have some real like love, and they have an understanding of being outsiders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I think
being
like
sort of misunderstood.
Yeah. That I think they really have like a good connection. And I think, I mean, Luna's friends with all of them, and Luna probably is like maybe closest with Ginny. They talk about her like them two they're in the same year and they kind of hang out a little bit. But second to maybe Ginny, I think Luna and Harry are really close, and they go to Slughorn's party together, and they're kind of like checking in with each other every so often. So they're buddies, they're close.
And doesn't Luna find him on the train?
Oh, no.
Or is that Tonks? No, that's Tonks.
Tonks, yeah. I think, did they have Luna find him on the train in the movies?
In the movie, I believe that they found him, that Luna found him. Which I feel like they heavily try to hint at that in the movies, and then they just go with Ginny. They don't really do a lot of like relationship making with Ginny and Harry in the movies, but with Luna and Harry, I feel like there's an equal amount of...
Yeah, like the movies give like... I feel like they add more scenes and they make more stuff with like Harry and Hermione and Harry and Luna that like didn't happen in the books. And then in the books, there's like a bunch more with like Ginny that's just like totally not there at all. And then it's like they just end up together. So I can see if you just watch the movies, I would not be a Harry Ginny shipper because like they're given almost nothing and then all of a sudden they're together.
Yeah, and in the movies they completely leave out the initial part of their relationship where they are sort of like boyfriend and girlfriend at Hogwarts for a while, and then there's nothing like that in the movies.
Okay, so other people that are there, obviously like all the Weasleys and Hermione and everyone, but the one who makes a special appearance, haven't seen him for a couple books, is Victor Crumb, Quidditch extraordinaire.
Yeah, he just pops up at the most inopportune time, right? And I think that this is something that I saw on Reddit, is that like the Goblet of Fire, Hermione is telling Ron, because Ron is complaining that, oh, why did you go dance with Victor Crumb? Why are you with him? Blah, 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 blah. They're sort of having their little tiff about, and not really addressing that they like each other. In the Goblet of Fire, and then Hermione, I think, tells him like, "Oh well, maybe next time just ask me to go dance or whatever." And in this scenario, he does that exactly. Like Victor Crumb comes up and he's like, "Okay, we're exiting. Like pull the eject button and or pull the eject lever and get Hermione out of this situation because we're not having this happen."
I would say this scene is like Ron and Harry being like super jealous boyfriend energy. Like Ron's like, all right, no talking to Victor Crumb. And then Harry, I wrote this scene down. This was like my favorite quote from this is, so Harry and Crumb are talking. Obviously Crumb doesn't know that it's Harry, right? He's quote unquote cousin Barney. But another Weasley.
Yeah.
And Crumb is, talking to him, and he points out Ginny, and he says, "Oh, Ginny's very pretty." And then this is Harry's reaction. "Yeah," said Harry, suddenly irritated. "And she's seeing someone, jealous type, big bloke. You wouldn't want to cross him." So jealous boyfriend.
Yeah, he would beat you up. Don't even try that. Like he's huge.
Yeah, and Harry sees Ginny dancing with Lee Jordan, and he's a little bit like, don't love that.
Well, you can't complain. You kind of gave it up at some point.
I know. He's so like oh, we can't date, but you can't date anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
In the books too, like going in more into Fleur and stuff. Fleur is obviously described as being like very pretty and has her like Vila thing that makes people attracted to her, but she's the one that pursues Bill, and Bill's supposed to be like really cool and long hair, like cool guy, wears leather jacket, kind of treasure hunter sort of vibes. But they meet in the Goblet of Fire book when Bill comes to watch Harry in the final task, and he's like over talking to Harry, and then Fleur is over there with her family like peeping at Bill like, "Oh, look at that hot guy over there."
Yeah, like is the saying tall, dark, and handsome, is that like dark as in like foreboding or like mysterious, or is that more like dark hair or like dark eyes?
I thought it was dark hair and dark eyes, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe Bill does have like this dark energy about him, like, treasure curse breaker kind of thing. Like,
yeah, gets attacked by werewolves and survives. He has that sort of energy.
Yeah,
but then they go and work at a bank, right? And that's sort of where they get more together. But there's dark things that happen at that bank. They got a dragon down there.
But yeah, that's how they like their love story continues or whatever. So she moves after Goblet of Fire. She graduates. She moves to England, works at the bank to improve her improve her English, and then quote unquote Bill's giving her English lessons or whatever. And they start dating, and then they get married. But also, like, they're super young. I went and looked. So she's like, when they're getting married, she's about 20 or 21, and he's about 27.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty young. And Mrs. Weasley makes a comment about that too, because apparently before the first Wizarding War, there was a lot of people trying to get married because there was a lot of rush and there was just a lot of chaos and stuff like that. So there was a lot of people getting married a little bit quickly the first Wizarding War, and she makes a comment that they might be making a similar decision. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know if she words it as a mistake, but a similar decision because the quote unquote second Wizarding War is about to begin.
Molly's like, I mean, to be fair, like, yeah, I don't know, 20, 21, that seems pretty young to be getting married. 27, like, he's definitely like, there's a bit of an age gap there. But yeah, like, I think
it's more along the lines of like Miss Weasley's like, oh, she's not good enough for my Bill.
Do you like, yeah, what do you think about Molly and her like approval of them? Like, do you think she even at this wedding doesn't approve?
I think she's just a little thrown off maybe by it. Like maybe she's not as accepting of what Fleur is all about. I mean, she's French, and the French and the English haven't really gotten along for the entire history of their two two nations. They've only sort of been getting along for the recent past. So maybe there's a little bit more of that going on than that. Maybe there's some feelings that JK has about French people that she doesn't really let on him. But Molly, I feel like she is more along the lines of this pretty girl who just flips her hair around and gets Bill to swoon over her a little bit, and she's got her in her clutches. I think that maybe that's sort of what Mrs. Weasley is sort of coming from. But I give Bill some credit. Like, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to just swoon over any pretty girl that walks around him. Like you said, he's sort of like a mysterious sort of like treasure hunter kind of bad boy sort of image. And give him some credit and give her some credit too. Like, she didn't have to join the Triwizard Tournament, and that's dangerous. That's not like, you have to be sort of a pretty talented witch or wizard to do something like that. So she's not just a pretty girl.
Yeah, that's true. And she's unbothered that Bill gets beat up by Greyback, or even before they really knew what was going to happen, like he could have and maybe ended up being a werewolf. Like, she was still going to stick by him.
Yeah.
So
and I think
definitely
that it really endeared her to the family.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that they're still together?
I think so. I definitely think so. She's definitely cooking up some really rare steaks as we speak, probably. But yeah, no, I think they're still together. They seem like a pretty solid match. I don't think that they would be, and especially in Deathly Hallows, you get to see a little bit more about their relationship and how they go about their daily lives. But I think that they seem like a pretty good couple, pretty solid couple.
It seems so. I mean, they have a kid, shortly after too, and they have a nice thing going at Shell Cottage, it seems like. So they have a daughter that's seen in the end of, like, in the epilogue. Their daughter is dating Teddy Tonks, which is Lupin and Remus's son. So, like, their daughter gets with their son, which I think they're supposed to be like a year apart. So okay. I don't know, but maybe they had more kids after their daughter. I'm not sure. Yeah. I liked them as a couple.
They're like the typical, like, I feel like they are like a typical, like, movie couple. Like, that's a typical storyline where the pretty girl isn't so pretty, or like the pretty girl has a little bit more of an edge to her, and kind of wins over the dark, mysterious guy.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like popular kids getting together. I mean, he was prefect and head boy and was supposed to be, like a good student, and, has had this career and whatever. So, and then she, was Triwizard champion. So I'm sure she's very popular, and she's part Vila. So I'm sure she's popular,
Yeah, definitely. So,
but the only other big thing that happens at this wedding is basically Harry's conversations with people. I mean, he talks to Crumb and he finds out about Gregorovitch being a wand maker and all of that. But really the big thing he learns is in his conversation with Elphias Doge and Aunt Muriel kind of jumping in. He learns all the rumors about the Dumbledore family.
And it gets a little bit contentious between Doge and Auntie Muriel at points in the conversation, where Auntie Muriel is maybe not being a conspiracy theorist. She's just sort of the devil's advocate to everything that Elphias Doge is talking about. So Harry gets a good rounded view of both sides of the story a little bit. So and then eventually he never actually gets the full truth, and we find out later what happens for real.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, all this stuff wouldn't be completely hushed up, and people would have parts of the story and then fill in the rest with whatever they think. But it's obviously super confusing because this all happened years and years ago, and Harry's just trying to piece it together. But One of the facts that I feel like isn't really talked about, but they talk about like Kendra, which is Albus Dumbledore's mom, being like super intimidating and everything, which I think makes total sense because they talk about Dumbledore having like a super intimidating look, and like Harry talks about like it looks like he was X-raying him and stuff like that. And some people, that's just like the way that they look, right? And I feel like that would be something that he would have inherited, just like physical facial features from his mom that maybe make him just have this like more intimidating presence, whether or not he's trying to be intimidating. Basically, Harry gets a little bit of a peek into some of this and learns about this whole, and I just realized it's like Albus, Aberforth, and Ariana. Like they did one of those again with the like alliteration or the like, oh, let's just like all our kids are gonna have A names, right?
But parents do that. Parents definitely do that with the names. They try and get them all the same letter.
But yeah, I don't want to go too much into the Dumbledore stuff, so I don't really have like no what else to say on that.
Yeah, we'll save the juicy Dumbledore stuff for when we cover him later on in a later episode. Probably a bigger, longer episode, maybe a two-parter.
So that pretty much covers it for the wedding. We already talked about the end when the Lynx Patronus shows up. And that kind of abruptly ends Harry's conversation about Dumbledore, and they, apparate out of there. That's essentially the wedding. Basically, Bill and Fleur get married. We learn about Dumbledore, and we leave and move on with the story.
So that's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share the magic with your friends and fellow Harry Potter fans. Next week, we'll cover Firenze the Centaur. Until then, happy reading, happy listening, and may you always find the Sword of Gryffindor when you need it.